So the recording is on. On your screen, you're going to see a red dot, and I'm not going to wait any further. We are going to start our presentation and talk about Google Chrome. And before we continue and talk about Google Chrome, I hope to find out from you if you're actually using Google Chrome. So the very first thing we're going to do, we are going to launch a poll, and you are going to be asked if you are using Google Chrome as a browser. And you have a few options, so you can click yes, yes, but not a bit, just a bit, or no, not at all. That way it will help me to sort of figure out how much information I can provide you with. And some of you I can see are using it quite a bit, and some of you are using it just a bit as well. A few users who are not using it, so that's good to know as well. The session for today is really set up to make sure that we address the basics of Google Chrome and also introduce you to some of the ideas and things you may want to explore. So just to give you the actual results, I'm going to close this poll. I know not everybody had the chance to participate yet, but I'm just going to close the poll and make sure that you can see it as well. So I'm going to share the results with you. You're going to see that 36% said yes, using it a lot. 55% said yes, but only a bit, and 99% said no, not yet. So that's a good breakdown, and it's good to know that you're just starting, which is absolutely fine. The tools and resources we use change all the time. Our preferences change. Our comfort level also changes as well. So sometimes we would start trying something, we don't really like it, we go away, and then the tool may have different features, different changes, and we start using it a bit more. So the other thing I want to ask you is, have you tried Google Chrome extensions? I'm going to launch another poll for you. And in this case, I'm asking if you have tried extensions or apps available through Google Chrome. Okay, so half of you are saying no, not yet. That's really good to know. Some of you are trying them a bit as well, and some of you are using it a lot. So if you're using it a lot, I'm going to ask you when we present today, if you don't mind sharing with us later on how are you using the tools, maybe what tools you're using, I would really appreciate that as well. Okay, so later on during the session, I really encourage you to chime in and go to the questions and let us know how are you using Google Chrome extensions or apps. Perfect, so I'm going to close the poll and show you the results. Here we go. Some of you are saying yes, some of you are saying a bit, and many of you are saying no, not yet. So yay, we're going to learn something today. Fantastic. Okay, so let's get back into Google Chrome. The way I want to present this today is to give you a very quick overview using a PowerPoint. I know not everybody likes PowerPoints, but it's just a bit easier, and this is something you will receive as a handout. So that way you can print it out, you can use it as a reference, you can make notes to yourself. I put a link to it in our chat or question box. So if you scroll up or down, you should be able to see the link in it as well, so you can open it in a separate browser tab. But just to give you a quick overview of Google Chrome, it is a free web browser that comes and is developed by Google, and it has been around for a while, and some people love it, some people hate it, and some people are just now exploring it, which is absolutely fine. It is a very interesting kind of browser. I'm not going to say it's very, very different than other browsers we see. Over the last few years, different browser providers have been introducing new tools, features, and resources in browsers. And there is this common trend for different browser companies to copy, duplicate, make things looking similar. So as you go and switch between different browsers, you will see there's a lot of differences, but also a lot of similarities. In the case of Google Chrome, it's one of the browsers where you can log in into your browser with your username and password, and that's your Gmail account that you can use, and you can use it on all your devices. For example, if I have this browser open on my computer right now and I'm logged in, if I go home and open my computer and I'm logged in, my browser will display the same tabs I had opened at work, which is really a neat feature if you're just working and moving around a lot. If you're traveling, you may be doing something on your computer at work, you take your devices, you start traveling, and then you open your laptop and you have the same tabs open and you can just continue working on them as well. It also allows you to provide apps and extensions that you can install or enable on your browser, and they're fairly easy to manage and navigate, so that's something we're going to explore today. It is one of the most popular web browsers used worldwide. Overall, I think at least 60 or 70% of people are using it at this point, which is amazing. And it is recognized for being secure, fast, simple, and stable. That's what people are saying about that. And in a way, when I started using Chrome, it's funny to admit, but I was finding it too simple. I was getting lost in it because I couldn't find my navigation buttons and names of things that I wanted to look for. And I was finding that it was a bit too complicated for me because it was so simple to look at. And I had to sort of relearn how I'm actually interacting with this tool. I'm going to note that all of the screen captures I have taken for today are from the version 38 and so on and so on. There's lots of dots after that. The versions change all the time, so something that I have on a screen capture or on an image that I'm sharing with you may not be available in the version you have right now. So you may want to go and download the latest version to make sure that it matches what I have. And you can always check that in your settings to see which version of the Google browser you have. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the fact that you can download Google Chrome from Google website. So if you don't have Google Chrome browser installed on your computer yet, or maybe you have it on your computer at work but not at home, or vice versa, the simplest and easiest way to do and get it is to go to google.ca/Chrome, and on the website that you will go to, you will see there's a download section. It usually recognizes what kind of device you're using, whether it's Mac or Windows program, and it will give you a download Chrome option where you can just click on it and download it to your computer. So that's fairly easy to do if you haven't installed your browser yet. Now, this is a quick screen capture of my browser when I started with Google Chrome. It had a white background. It also had this fairly simple navigation tab on top. I actually added a few toolbars tool items for myself in the toolbar, and there are different features on the right side. We're going to go over that. But basically what I saw on the screen when I started was this one box on top, not two, not URL box and Google search box, for example, but one box. And if you haven't heard that name before, it's actually called Omnibox, because you can do both. You can type in the URL address, or you can put in your keyword in it and you can search. Some of you, if you're using Firefox or maybe even Internet Explorer now, is using it as well. Google was the first one to really launch it and navigate and provide it to users, but it was actually Firefox who came up with it. So it's amazing how different companies overlap and introduce or expand the services as they go, and sometimes copy some of the features from each other. So at this point, it starts to be even hard to say who was first when they start providing some of those features. So the box on the top is called Omnibox. And also what you get when you start your Google Chrome at the beginning is you get your Google logo, and then you get your search bar. Many of us are used to search bar, but one of the new things is that you have a microphone there. So if you tap on that microphone, keep in mind this is only a screen capture for now, and enable your microphone, you should be able to speak and provide a command to Google. For example, search for something, or go to our website, and so on and so forth. And Google will search for that information for you using your voice command. Also, the Chrome browser will provide links or display some of the latest tabs or websites you have been to. So in my case, I was using my Google Plus account. I was using AlphaPlus website, looking at specific address and going to a Habitat website. So some of those sites are showing as shortcuts for me to go back to them if I want to do that. The other thing that I want to point out to you is that I mentioned at the beginning that if you log in, Google Chrome browser is going to remember your tabs, your navigation, and all this information. For security reasons or privacy issues, some people are not comfortable with that. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to be logged in to use Google Chrome browser, but if you are logged in, that information gets stored and can be repurposed if you go and use your Chrome browser on a different device. So because I was logged in, there's an icon with my name on it. I have a cat right there, and there are a few shortcuts to other tools. For example, shortcuts to different applications from Google, a shortcut to access and search for Google Images, shortcuts for me to go to my email account, and to go to my Google Plus account as well. All that gets added directly to my Chrome browser, so it's easier for me to navigate. Any questions so far? Just use the questions box to stop me or to comment, and I'm just going to continue. One of the very interesting things and simple things to use in Google Chrome browser is the actual control panel in a way. So it's 3 lines that are in the top right corner. I know they're also now visible on Firefox if you're using Firefox browser, but that's where you can click to open additional features or manage or control some of the features. And when you click on it, you will get an opportunity to start a new tab. You can also do it by clicking just on the slide tab right behind the one you have right now open. You can also start a new window, new Incognito window, and we're going to look at that soon. You can look at your bookmarks and recent tabs. It keeps history of your navigation. You can use your quick shortcuts for editing. You can save pages. You can find information. Printing is here as well. You can change the zoom on your browser, so you can increase or decrease it as you wish. There's history. You can go through to see what you have been doing in your browser. History of downloads that you have downloaded. It tells me that I have been signed in as monica@marson.ca. That's my Gmail account. And there's a section for settings as well as about Google Chrome. That's where you can check your version and find out which version of Google Chrome you have. They continuously change and update it. And I actually, just a few days ago, I learned that at home, I downloaded a beta version, which was a bit higher than the one I'm using here today. And when I was trying to use Google Hangouts, I was running into problems on a Mac. So I had to go back and reinstall the lower version that was regular version, not a beta version when they're still testing things. But that was something I learned very quickly, that I just needed to change the version of my browser for it to work. So now that we have taken a quick look at all those options that we have through the 3 lines in the top right corner, let's continue and explore them in more detail. So one of the things that the browser comes with is something called going incognito. And what that means is that if you're logged in, you don't have to log out to browse the website and make sure that the system doesn't track or save your history. You can switch to your incognito mode, and basically that system will not save where you have been going and what you have been doing. So this is very interesting to know as well. However, keep in mind that if you're going to websites and logging in, that information is still visible to the websites you're navigating, or potentially when you're traveling, there's still some risks as with any website and navigation online. So keep that as well. But if you wanted to learn more, I included a link here for you to access now or later on that you will be able to explore as well. And the next thing I wanted to take a look at is the actual settings, because that's where you have most of the control over your browser. And so quickly just navigating through the settings, there's basic settings and there's advanced settings. This is a look at a drop-down you get when you just click on settings. When you do that, you basically have an option to change your sign-in, and the system tells me you're signed in as monica@marson.ca. I can actually disconnect my account from that and not use that account and maybe use a different account. I can choose when I actually start Google Chrome browser what happens. So in my case, I have it set up to continue where I left off. And that's why when I leave my work here, and if I have 2 or 3 tabs open, if I go home and open the Google Chrome browser at home, I will have those 3 tabs there as well. So that's a very neat feature. But you don't have to use that. You can basically tell the system, no, I want you to open the new tab page every time I start Google Chrome browser. Or you may want it to say open a specific page as you start. For example, I may want to say open AlphaPlus website as I start, or open my news feed as I start. You can choose and set the pages as you go through your settings. There's also a section for appearance. When I started, the background was white, which is very nice and very clean to use. But if you do choose to have different themes and different backgrounds, you can actually click on Get Themes and set up different theme for your background. You can also choose to have a home button that shows directly in your browser navigation. And you can also say always show the bookmarks bar, or you can disable it. So that's where you have control over that. When it comes to searching, keep in mind this is just a screen capture. You can change what kind of search tool is being used for searching in your browser. Automatically, it's set up to Google, but if you love Bing, you can actually click on the drop-down menu and change it to Bing. You can also add users to your account. So in the family where you have different users coming into the laptop potentially and using it, you can have different users using the Google Chrome browser. And as users log in and out and switch the users, his history information is memorized for each account based on who was logged in. So that's good to know as well and potentially good to use. And the default browser, I have it set to become Google Chrome. But if you don't set it, automatically at the beginning, it's going to ask you, do you want it to be your default browser? And then you can say yes or no. So that's basic settings. In the advanced settings, there's even more features for you to take a look at. And one of the big ones is privacy. And in that section, we will look at it when we go live. There's a lot of features that you can enable or disable that allow you to monitor or control a bit how Google is using your information in your browsing history, for example. You can also choose if the system remembers your passwords and forms or pre-fills the forms for you. You can change the type of web content you're using, how you're using it, the zooming, the fonts on it. You can also change the network, the location connection to your network you're using. You can change languages. You can change where your downloads are going. Very often our downloads go directly to the downloads folder, but you may decide to have a separate folder where you want your downloads to go, and you can change that in the download settings. So there's a lot of extra features you can check and navigate through. But when we go live, you will see it's a fairly clean and simple page to go through, making it easy for you to understand and manage your Chrome browser. Now, just a quick word about the background themes. I mentioned that you can always go and change them. And in this case, the way the background themes are changed is by going and selecting the theme in the settings, the way I showed you right now. But when we go later through it, you will also learn that you can go to Chrome Web Store, which we'll look at shortly, where you can go to access your extensions and apps and themes. I want you to keep in mind that a lot of those themes are not developed by Google or the Chrome browser developer. They're developed by third-party users. And what that means is that basically means that there is some risk, potential risk, that you may be exposed to malware or other problems when you download or install those themes. And I'll talk about that a bit later. But that's something to keep in mind, and we'll talk about risks in another section. Now, about Google applications. So I know some of you told me that you're using them a bit, but most of the users that we just polled earlier, most of you told me you're not just starting looking at extensions and apps. So I really want to clarify the difference between them because it's sometimes a bit confusing. And when it comes to Google applications or apps, we sometimes have to differentiate between mobile device apps and online or desktop or browser apps. In reality, what starts to happen is that they all start to be the same thing. They basically mean small programs that you access online or through your mobile device to do something for you. And it's very easy to think about that as a program that if in the past you were using CDs or DVDs and you were putting something on the computer, you were downloading or installing a program. Applications are very similar, but very often you're not really installing them on your computer or you're installing some shortcuts and codes for them to launch. Everything else you're actually accessing online through your browser. And often the service is somewhere in the cloud, available through a different server you're going to. And this whole process for me has been very, very confusing because I started with apps on my phone, then apps on my mobile devices, and now I'm looking at apps on my desktop. And I couldn't understand the difference and why they differ sometimes from each other and work on one program or one device but not on the other. And one thing that I want to highlight for you is if you have heard about Google Chromebooks, which is basically laptops developed by Google that look like regular laptops, but they don't have Windows-based or Mac-based operating system. They have Chrome operating system provided by Google. And what they do is they automatically install Google Chrome browser on it, Google Docs, and other programs available from Google, which are accessible online. And that's why Google is introducing more and more of those tools online for us as well. So even though you're not using Chromebooks, we, through our devices, through our desktop or laptop, we have access to those tools the same way somebody has who actually just has the Chromebook as well. The Chromebooks are much cheaper than regular laptops. don't know the size, maybe 10-inch laptop Chromebook will be around $170 compared to $500–600 laptops sometimes. And that's something that's getting more and more popular in schools because of the cost savings and the tools and services provided by Google. But that sometimes is confusing, so I want to make sure that you understand the apps. So when we think about Gmail, for example, or YouTube, it's websites that you find online, but they are now getting called applications because they're programs that you're accessing online. But there are many, many more. Google Docs, Evernote, almost any program you access online, they start to call them applications. Now, Google Chrome allows you to add shortcuts to those applications through their Chrome Web Store. And I'll show you an icon very soon where you go in and then you browse different applications based on your interests and your needs, and then you just add it to your Google Chrome browser. And what will happen is you will get a shortcut in a way that will get displayed in something called Apps Launcher. And I'll show you a picture of it for now. This is a screen capture of my Apps Launcher, and I can access it through this tiny icon in my toolbar. It's just called Apps. Every time I click on it, this whole thing opens. And in it, I will see different applications that I have installed. The easiest way to think about this is actually shortcuts. So those are shortcuts that the system is providing to different applications or programs online. Some of those are literally just clicking on it and you go online and open an application. Others will open in your computer and work as almost, they will seem like they're actually installed on your computer, but they're still accessible through online access. So that's applications. And just to give you an idea of how some of those applications work or what they could be, this is, for example, Google Keep. And I have to say I have used Google Keep mostly through my cell phone. I have Google Phone Nexus, and I had Google Keep for a while. It's basically a tool to create different kinds of notes for shopping, reminders, for different kinds of things you may want to use it for. And just recently when I was exploring apps, I learned that there's a Google Keep application that I can install on my Google Chrome browser. So I installed it, and I would go to my Apps Launcher, click on it, and it will open something like the image I have here. And I'll show you a live version a bit later on. But what really will happen is this will open, and I will have access to my shopping list and all the notes I have added on my cell phone. They will synchronize with each other. And not only that, I can share those notes with specific users. In this case, my shopping list right here, I share it with my husband. So anytime he adds something, I can see it. Anytime he's crossing it out, I can see it as well. So we can actually have a shopping list that we exchange with each other, and I have access to it not only through my mobile device, but directly through my browser by just opening the application right in Google Chrome. As I mentioned, it could be all kinds of different notes. So I often, when I go and meet people and they mention different tools to me, I may make notes about tools that they are using. Even I have electrical panel information from my home because somebody was asking me that. So I use it for all kinds of purposes like that. This kind of tool could be used by you for any kind of purpose. You could teach your students to use it to create notes for themselves, reminders as well. And you can add people and share. You can change colors. And you can put reminders on it, so it will remind you if something is due as well. Another application that I want to show you is Word Online. So many of us use Windows-based programs such as Word or PowerPoint or Explorer for word processing or create spreadsheets. You may not know, or you may know, that Windows programs such as Word or Excel Explorer as well, those tools are available online now. So you don't actually have to have those tools installed on your computer. You can go online and log in into your Word Online account and create documents right there. And what Google Chrome allows me to do is, again, through the applications launcher, I can create a shortcut for myself. So I can log into my computer, open my browser, click on the icon, and it takes me directly to Word Online, where I can do word processing or access files that I have saved there. And the files get saved through OneDrive. If you are using Windows 8, OneDrive comes with it, and actually it communicates with the Word Online and synchronizes the documentation between your desktop version of Word with your online version. So you can access both and use both, or you can only use online version. Amazing tool for students who may not be able to afford or have their own laptops. What basically that means is that they could go to a library and they could log into their Word Online and use it there and save documents, and they could come to the classroom and use the same documents or save the new documents from the classroom and access them in the library. So many possibilities that this can provide you with. And Google Chrome doesn't do anything else besides giving you a link to it, but it's just a shortcut that you can use. The last application I just wanted to show you, keep in mind there are thousands of them out there. I just wanted to give you a few highlights, is Pixlr Editor. A lot of us use images, and sometimes we may want to change the color, the background, maybe you may want to cut something out, make changes to it. We can do that with Pixlr Editor. It's an online editor that is very similar to something you would use as a Photoshop or GIMP or Paint Shop. You may be using some of those tools. This tool now is online. You don't even have to log in. You just click on your app that I added through my web store, takes me to a website where I have an option to start an image or picture from scratch, or I can upload the picture and make changes to it. I can find an image from a web, all kinds of different ways to work with it and all kinds of different tools that we could use. In the field where it's very hard to purchase software and pay for all the costs, being able to have access to all those tools online and having a browser that creates shortcuts for you to be able to access it, it's just amazing. It makes things so much easier and so much more streamlined. So in a way, when you think about applications, think about them as small programs that you can use, and you can add shortcuts to those programs through your browser. The next thing I want to show you is extensions, because they work slightly different. And the difference between apps and extensions is that extensions are smaller codes, programs, small features that you can add or enable on your browser. And very often they would show as tiny icons on the right side in your browser navigation bar. So I'm just moving my mouse. I hope you can see them, but I have a red arrow pointing to them. I have a few enabled. I have a Hangout, I have Evernote, and a few other ones enabled there. And I installed them again through my Google Chrome web store. I found the ones I was interested in based on some of the tools I'm using or information or features I was looking for. And so what they can do is they will change the way I interact with the browser. For example, the icons that I have here, I could click on them and they will do something. Hangouts, for example, will launch the Hangouts right in my browser. The Evernote icon that I will click on would allow me to clip information from the internet and save it to my Evernote account. I don't have to actually go to Evernote to do it. This is something called Web Clipper. So I will clip the content and save it to my account. But some of the other extensions are not the icons you see. Other extensions may be something that gets added to the Omnibox, and I'll show you one that just adds an icon right in the Omnibox that you can click on to change the background. Or something else that you can add as an extension is the way the browser will display information. And in my case, what I did is I have something that I use, something called Pinterest tab, and I'll show you soon, that changes what's displayed when I open a new tab. Very simple to use. Some of them are just have one function or do something specific. It could be just one extension with an icon right here in the browser that tells you that you have a new Gmail account that came in, or how many hours to the next meeting that you have scheduled, or how many more emails you have that you didn't open. All those are basically enhancements or features you add to your browser. So I hope that clarifies for you the difference between extensions and applications, because extensions are smaller, small functionalities to change something or make something easier for you, where apps are actual almost like programs that run in your browser that you get shortcuts to get to them. Okay? If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. I know some of you are using Chrome and using extensions. If I'm not being clear, or if you want to add something, please use the questions box to do that. Okay? Okay, so here's a few examples of extensions, and I was amazed how this was one of the extensions that I really liked. Google Dictionary by Google You go to extensions, you add it to your Google Chrome, it adds an icon in your top navigation, and anytime you're browsing anything, let's say AlphaPlus website, you can double click on text and it's going to give you a definition of the text you're looking for. Or you can highlight the text and click on the icon in your browser, and it's going to open a full definition for you, including, not always, but sometimes including the voice. So you can actually click on the audio and hear how the word is pronounced. When you're dealing with students who are just learning the vocabulary, ESL students, students who may need to sort of clarify some of the vocabulary they're working with or website they're reading, amazing tool because it's just so simple to use, and I'll show you how that works a bit later. Another one is called Evernote Clearly, and I use Evernote to do bookmarks, but the same company that helps me manage my bookmarks, my resources, my links and documents, also has something called Clearly. And what it does, it's an extension. Again, it just adds a tiny icon into your browser. And when I'm navigating, for example, through AlphaPlus website and I'm looking at an article, it may have a lot of navigation, a lot of tools and boxes on the side, advertising sometimes. That can be overwhelming for students. So what you can do is you can click on Clearly, and it will basically strip all this extra information and provide you with a simple text and simple background. And in the Clearly, you will be able to change the actual settings. So you can make it white background, you can increase the size of the font, you can even customize the colors to your needs. So if you have students with some accessibility issues, with some seeing problems, that may make things a bit easier for them as well, because with one click, they can change their reading the information online. Another extension that I added, and I really like this one, it's very, very simple. It's called Pinterest tab. Some of you who are using Pinterest may be familiar with the Pinterest where you have all kinds of amazing images and resources. I do pin to Pinterest. I have all kinds of boards on Pinterest, but this is slightly different. What it does is it pulls images from Pinterest and displays them when you go to open a new tab. So you know how sometimes you click on a new tab and it just opens white blank thing? In this case, it will just pull the image first. So before you search for something or browse the internet, you have this amazing image to start your day. It includes the date for the day. You can even add calendar to it, so it will display your appointments for the day. But basically, it's for you to make your interaction with the computer slightly different, slightly easier maybe. So I can see Summer is commenting, Evernote Clearly could also be a good support tool for learners with certain LDs to help them focus on important text. Absolutely, Summer. And it's just one of the examples. There are many, many accessibility tools you can find. Some of them are third party, but this is just small examples that I wanted to show you, because as we start using it, it can get overwhelming. So those are just very basic, very simple things. So the last one I want to show you as an extension is a very simple tool called Turn Off the Lights. So if you go to YouTube, you very often will have the main video you're watching, all kinds of videos on the side, description, a lot of information that can get confusing for students or just distract them. So this extension, what it does, it adds this tiny light bulb right in the Omni box, right where you have your address. There's this light box there. And anytime you're on a website where you can turn it on, it will show up in your Omni box. You click on it, and what it will do, it will put a background, kind of gray, or you can change the colors as well, so any color. It will basically gray out everything else and just leave the video for you to be visible. That way, when you're watching, you're not distracted. Again, thinking about students with potential problems, then they may need a bit more attention span, or they may need to focus on one thing. That's a very simple way for them to get that focus by just turning off everything around them. To remove it, you just click back on the light bulb and everything disappears. Your screen looks the same way it was before with all the navigation you had before. So this is just a way for you to simplify the process, but you don't have to install any big programs. You just go and add the extension to your browser, and it's right there for you to use at any time. Now, the reason I want to talk about the risks and extensions and apps is that this is a topic that comes up a lot. There's a lot of reasons for that. When you think about Apple and Apple Store, there's a lot of users who talk about how Apple is very restrictive in what kind of applications you can download from their applications App Store. The reason for that is that they have a very specific process when they review all the applications, make sure that they're compliant. So they don't want to have any risks or problems with clients using those applications. Google Play, that's the Android version of the Apple Store, is a bit more lenient but also allows for that. But when it comes to Google Chrome Store, there's hundreds of different developers uploading and sharing their resources. I'm not saying all of them have malicious content, but some of them may. And you need to be a bit careful and cautious when you're downloading or installing applications or extensions. Very often they get added to your browser, so you think you're not really exposing your computer to any problems, but you do, because a lot of the times you will be going online and having your activities and doing things online, which means they'll be using passwords, logging into different sites, using all kinds of information. So be careful when you're looking at extensions and apps. Look at the reviews, look at the feedback from people to see if this is something you can trust before you actually install it. And something I learned recently, I had no idea about that, which made me a bit more cautious. So I usually try to make sure that I use, if it's Google products, I make sure that it was the extension or app was developed by Google. If it's Pinterest, I want Pinterest to be the author. I'm a bit more worried about third-party developers, because I read, which was crazy, I read that if you have a small developer and you like that person's application, you install it, or extension, you install it on your browser. That person can be bought out by a bigger company that may want to do advertising and track your browsing, or maybe, capture your passwords. And because you already have it installed on your computer, you don't know that they were bought out by somebody else, and somebody else added features that may be affecting you in that way. So knowing and being cautious and checking as you're downloading and interacting with all those extensions and apps is very, very important. And again, I'm talking about Google Chrome for us, learning how we are using it, but it applies to our students as well. Many of them may be using Google Chrome at home, in the libraries, so we need to make them cautious of those extensions and the risks they're taking when they're using those as well. I'm not saying all those extensions and apps are bad. They're amazing, actually, but just a bit of being cautious and careful can go a long way. And I'm including a link for you to follow later on if you have a bit of time to explore that in more detail as well. So I'm going to stop, and I'm going to see if in your questions box, if you could let me know if you're using any other extensions or apps that you may want to suggest to others in today's session. Any things that you would use, or maybe using with the students already or for yourself, please use the questions box to let me know. Anyone? I'm assuming because we are fairly new to extensions and apps, you may be using the browser a lot, but maybe the extensions and apps is something new. Okay, so Samar, you're mentioning you're using Google Drive. Absolutely, and Google Drive will be treated as an app. So if you go to your web store, you will be downloading or installing as an app in your app launcher. I sometimes don't install it there because I usually go through my Gmail account first and access my Drive that way. But you could have a shortcut to it as well. And you're also saying extensively as a management tool for my JCP project. Absolutely. So if you're open to it, you could use a shortcut to an app as well. So when you're using Google Drive, you have all participants do their weekly and monthly reports there. That's amazing. That's really good to know. And they do their timesheets there. So do they log in? Just to clarify, do they log in? Do they have their own account? Okay. So each of them has their own account, and they either have a shared folder to share the information with you as well? Okay. They do. And it's all shared with you, so you have access to them when they're uploading and changing the content. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us, Samar. That's one of the Google tools as well, and it could be used to so many extents. So just a simple thing for the students, if they use Google Chrome and they're logged in, they could go into your program and do some activities there. They could go home and continue doing it, and they could have installed Google Drive as a shortcut. A lot of people, even my husband, said to me, I don't get the apps, because I usually just type in the address into my browser and go there. Or as I do, go through Gmail, open other applications from Google and go to Google Drive. So that whole idea of apps in a browser is kind of still not 100%, but think of it as bookmarks or shortcuts. With time, when you have a lot of them, it can get complicated and confusing. So some of the ones you use a lot, you don't have to have them there. But if you use some of them occasionally, you may want to just have them there as a fast way to get to them. And Summer, you're mentioning that with the Google Drive, when you're sharing, you can view and see the updates and make comments on the documents as they're working on them. I'm really glad you're using it. I love Google Drive, and I think it's one of those amazing tools that can do so many different things. Perfect. Okay, so I want to go live just to give you a few examples. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch my browser, and you will see the first thing. Remember, I installed my Pinterest tab extension. That's how I get the images right in the tab. I didn't put in any address yet. I just have the image, and I actually can change those images to different images as I go. I can just refresh in the top right corner. I have arrows, and I can change them. So if I need a bit of a break, even like a mental break, I could just open a tab and go through some images to relax a bit, to take a breath before I continue, right? Something very simple, but in a way for me, I love it. It also gives me the time that I have, tells me I have 15 more minutes to bug you with the presentation. Talks about sunrise and sunset, tells me the day of the week, and there is ability to also tie your calendar to it, so I could have a display of some of the meetings that are coming up as well. I could also pin the image I like to my Pinterest account. There's an option for it in the lower right corner. So an extension that is not an icon on top of the page is just a very, very simple way for me to look at images directly in my browser to make it a bit more interesting. It's not a theme, it's an extension that I added. Now, if I look at my browser, so just starting from the top, you will see I only have two lines. I have arrows to navigate back and forth, I have reload the page, and I have a home button. That will always take me to my first page that I have. And you can disable that. You don't have to have it open. You can change that in settings. Then I have my Omni box. And right now in the Omni box, I have nothing. You can see there's a search icon because I can type in the address of a website or any keyword. And the star is something that I would use to bookmark specific page into my bookmarks. Then I have all my extensions that use the icon, the tiny icon. And I have used the Google Dictionary in the example I showed you, so we'll go through that. And also the settings at the end, the 3 lines that I can use to customize and control my Google Chrome. So what I'm going to do next is just quickly go through that. We looked at the Incognito window, and I can click on it. It will not track my activity as I continue. But I want to go to settings because that's the most important one for me because there's so many amazing things there. So let me just move some of the things for me on my screen so I can show you everything. And in the settings, again, it says that I'm logged in as my Gmail account. On startup, I can see that I can open the new tab page, and it tells me that I have an extension called Pinterest tab enabled on it. I can always remove it if I want to. And the system says continue where you left off. So if I had multiple tabs open, I go home, I have them open as well as soon as I open my Google Chrome account and I'm logged in. I could change the appearance. So if I wanted the home button to disappear, what I can do is just click on it off and that home button disappears. And I can click back on it again and it comes back again as well. I can disable the bookmarks, but I don't want to because my shortcut to my apps launcher is right here. So I don't want to disable that. I wanted to have it visible. I also have a shortcut to a tool we are using to access applications from work. So I have it here, and I could add many more in my bookmarks if that's the way I want to go. And nothing stops me. It's very easy. They're all listed right there. You can also do the search, and I mentioned that you can change the way you're browsing through search. Right now it's set to Google, but what you could do is you can change it to Yahoo, to Bing, Ask, Yahoo in Quebec, and Bing in French. So that's a way to change or customize your preferences as well. I'm actually glad to see that Google is doing that they're not making you use Google only. However, I like Google, so I'm going to leave it with Google. You can add the users, as I mentioned earlier, so you could have your son or daughter or husband or another family member have an account. When they come in, they can log in into their account and navigate and use it as they go. The default browser for me, that's how I set my Google Chrome here. And I'm going to click on More Settings because I want to show you, and this time I have to scroll after I enabled it, that there's more settings for privacy. And in privacy, you have all kinds of different things. I can clear browsing data. There's content settings and some of the other settings you can look at. Use a web service to help resolve navigation error. I have it turned on. Use a prediction service to help complete searches. Predict network actions. Automatically report details of possible security incidents to Google. I have that disabled. Enable phishing and malware protection. So I want to make sure that as much as I can, if Google Chrome can protect me, why not? I have it enabled. Use a web service to help resolve spelling errors. In my case, I have it disabled, but you could always enable it. Automatically send usage statistics and crash reports to Google. Same thing. Some people may want to have it enabled, but I have it disabled. Send a do not track request with your browsing traffic. This one is actually interesting. So when you're browsing internet, you may want to have that enabled. This sends a message to other websites not to track. However, if they will follow or do that, we are not always 100% sure. So even when you enable that, Google Chrome will tell you that they cannot guarantee that the other websites will not still track or check the information. And then you can enable OK Google to start a voice search. Remember when I was showing you that there is a voice button on a homepage when I started my Chrome browser? I could click on it and enable the audio. But you can also have computer listen. And when you say, OK, Google, the way sometimes some of you may be using on mobile devices, it will actually start searching for you following your voice command. So that's something to use, again, for someone who may have mobility issues and they may want to use Google that way. For web content, you can change the font size, you can customize fonts, you can page zoom, all those things you can do right in the settings. You can also change languages. You can change where the downloads are going, and you can have additional sections such as print. I have never used that before. And you can also have system checked information as well. So a lot of features for you. What I also like on the left side is history. And you will see my history, a lot of things I have been doing. But it's history for my phone, history for my Mac at home, and history for my computer here. That's because I have used Google Chrome on all 3 devices. You can always disable that as well. In extensions, you can see all the extensions that I have enabled through my web store. And what I like about this is not only that I can see them, I can always delete them from here, and I can enable and disable them as well. So application launcher for Drive. Summer, I know you were talking about Google Drive. That's something you may want to explore as well as an extension or application, and you can use it that way. So many different things you can check out and navigate through. But if you're getting lost and you're not sure where your extensions are, because some of them are not the icons, but tabs or things that are showing up somewhere else in your browser, you can come to your extensions and you can manage them all here. You can all see them all, what you have, where they are, how they work, what permissions you have set, enabling and disabling and deleting them as well. So it's also a really nice way to work through them. So just very quickly to go to the apps. This is right in my toolbar. This is the app launcher. What it will do, I'm just going to move my windows around again. It will give me a list of, I call them shortcuts or apps that I decided to put here. So if during the day I want to access it, I can just click on my launcher, click on specific app, and there we go. It's going to open a window. The notes are smaller, so you can see another window behind it. But this is the Google Keep where I can add notes for myself. And I can literally just start adding title, notes. I can put a reminder on it. I can invite people to it, change colors, make a new list if I want to. And as soon as I finish that, it will synchronize with my phone. So when I go home, I have the same information on my phone as well. I find that it's very amazing and very quick to use as well. So that's the one that I really, really like. There are many other ones. I heard that some programs are using something called Wunderlist, W-U-N, Wunderlist as an application for reminders or notes. Is that something that you may want to try? Just go through Web Store. So in the launcher, I have a shortcut to the Web Store right here as one of the applications and in the lower corner. No matter which way I click on it, I can click on the actual application. It takes me right into the Web Store where I can look for extensions, I can look for apps, and I can look for themes. And there are many of them. So depending on your interest, whether it's music, videos, when you're looking for recipes or saving files, all kinds of different extensions. It gives you the number of people who are using it, gives you quick previews. You can also click on it. It will give you even more information, including reviews, which I really like because then you can get information from people, what they like, and how it works for them. And that gives you a better information about who actually develops it. And Box, for example, it's a similar service as Dropbox or Google Drive. And this application is developed by them, so then I will want to install it. I kind of feel okay with it because I trust the company that's using it. But if it was a third party like Don Joe, then I would be a bit more careful. So there are many other applications I can use. Evernote, Google Tips, the Pixlr Editor I was showing you, Word Online. I can click on it. It will take me directly into my Word. It remembers that I logged in. It's asking me, what do you want to do? New blank document, browse templates, recent documents on Drive. I can click on that. It's going to take me to the list of my documents, like I will have a folder on the computer, or I can literally just go and click a document and open it, or create a new document from scratch. This is all done through a browser. How do you access the store if it's not in your app? So Jennifer, if you're in Chrome browser, as soon as you go in, you can just type in, just search for Chrome Web Store, and it will come up. It's one of the first things you will be getting because they will want you to add extensions and applications. So they will be getting, it will be right there for you. So that's the applications. And just to give you a very quick look at the extensions. So the very first one I have is dictionary. So to see how it actually works, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a new tab with my new beautiful picture, and I'm going to go to AlphaPlus website, just as an example. You know, on our website we have all kinds of content and resources. Let's say I'm looking at the main website. There's so much content here. I'm going to go to my Google Chrome that we have featured on our website as well. Again, there's a lot of navigation on the sidelines, but I don't want for now to look at that. What I want to see is I'm reading this content and I'm not sure what browser is. So I can double click on it, and because I have my dictionary enabled, it's going to start giving me tips and information. This is just double click directly on text. Just quick double click. I can also enable the actual sound. I don't think you will be able to hear it because of the tool we are using for the webinar, but if you're using it on your own, it will just play the sound for you. It will speak it out. Or what I can do is I can go to the top and use the Google Dictionary right there, click on it, and what it will do is it will give me full definition, also with pronunciation and other web definitions as well. So I can go in there. If I look for another word, I can just type a new word right here, and it will give me a new definition. So it's a very neat tool and quick tool to access and learn new vocabulary if you want. The other one I want to show you is that Clearly I was mentioning. It's the second one I have right in my browser, right there on top. If I click on it, what it will do, it's going to take it away, and now it cleaned up the entire navigation, the sidebars, and it's going to give me an option to add it to Evernote because it's developed by the same company. But what I really like is the changes. I can change the way content is displayed. I can change the background, and I can change the colors and also customize exactly colors I want, which is really neat because some users may have different preferences or maybe may prefer red or blue, so you can go in and customize that. If you don't want to, you can still just use what's provided, but I may want to just change the font to be bigger, and that's very, very easy and quick to do right in the browser. So that's something you can enable. If you're done, you just click back on the top arrow and it brings back the actual website. Isn't that cool? I'm just going to go back now to your questions, and I have Jacqueline saying, fascinating, Word Online, how private are those documents? Well, Jacqueline, it's the same thing as OneDrive or Google Drive or any service through the cloud. If you have Windows 8, OneDrive and that access to online documents is exactly the same way as you would use with Windows 8. That's now built in Windows 8. So some people refer to it as SkyDrive or OneDrive. It's the same thing. So Shelley, you're asking what was the name of the last app? It's called Evernote Clearly. And it is in the presentation slide, so you will be able to go back to it. It's in the list of extensions that I showed you. But I just love how it simplifies the process. Keep in mind, it doesn't work for all websites. There were a few websites where it just didn't want to load. But you could test it first. And if you have your students going to read newspapers or websites with news, you could have them use that to simplify so they can focus on one content only and manage through that rather than having all this information jumping at them as well. Okay? So there's also Hangouts that I'm using. I'm not going to show you that. Okay, where do I find the download for the slide? I do not see any of my questions chat. So Jennifer, just give me a few minutes. I'm going to put it in there right now just to make sure. So I'm adding it right now. Let's make sure that everybody has it. So hopefully it will show up on your question box there. Are you able to shrink the Omnibox so more extensions show? Yes, it happens automatically. As you know, add more extensions. The system will actually shift everything around. Oh yes, so the last extension I wanted to show you, and I know I'm getting tight on time, but the last extension I want to show you is the turn off the lights. So let me just go back to this website, and there's a video on this page right here. I have a video on AlphaPlus website, and I'm not sure if you noticed, it's tiny right here, but in the Omnibox, now I have a light bulb. It wasn't there when I was navigating, but now it's here. It's an extension. It's right in the Omnibox. If I click on it, what it will do, it will take out all the content and only show me the video. I can hit play, watch the video. When I'm done, I can click it back on, and it takes me back to the website. All in the browser. Isn't that cool? I just love some of those things. They're just simple. And there's so many of them. I don't have enough to show you. But I hope this is a good start for you and that you will be able to now go back to your Google Chrome and start the entire process. So I know you were asking me about Google Chrome Store, Google Chrome Web Store. I'm just going to go this way, and it's going to be the very first thing that's going to show up in the browser. When you do the Chrome, it will take you there as well, but if you're not sure, just search for it and it will come up. It's the same thing that I use. In this case right now, because I searched for it, it shows me I'm not signed in. I can sign it and start adding in everything to my browser. But it's just amazing. It just goes into your applications in the box right there in the left side, or pops up as an icon on top, or within the Omnibox, or as I said, for my Pinterest, becomes an image when I open a new tab. So a few examples for you to try, but I hope you will try more. Okay. So I'm finishing off because I don't want to keep you much longer. The last thing I would like to do, if that's okay with you, is to invite you to do a survey for me. As usual, we always have to ask you for your feedback. So I'm including a link to a survey that I hope you will be able to do hopefully now or right after we finish the session. You just have to click on the link. It should open the survey for you. If you don't have time, you will be able to do that as well. I will send a follow-up email to all of you with the slides, just in case if you missed the link or if you didn't have time to open it today, and with the link to the survey, just to make sure you have access to all of them. But I really hope that if you haven't used Google Chrome before, now at least you will be willing and try a bit more and see what extensions there are and how you can use them. Again, please keep in mind and look at the risks and keep safe when using different extensions. Try to use extensions from providers that you're familiar with that provide not only just the extension but maybe a service that you're looking for, like the Evernote. For me, Evernote is one of my favorite tools. It allows me to save websites, and there's a web clipper that I have as a extension right here. I can click on it, and it's going to tell me it couldn't start because there's nothing there right now. But if I went to alphaplus.ca again, it's going to take me to the website. So imagine me navigating and looking at different content, and now I really like this page. I want to save it for later. I can click on my Evernote. It's going to pop up and say, okay, you can clip the entire, just the article. You can clip the full page or bookmark, or you can do a screenshot. And where do you want to save it in your Evernote? I can choose from all kinds of different notebooks that I have. And as soon as I select on that, I hit save, and it goes into my Evernote. I never had to open Evernote. It just did it directly through the web clipper right here. So Pinterest has something very similar. Many other tools have similar features. So you can enable them, disable them, work with them, and make things more fun for yourself when you're navigating. So that's it for me today. I really thank you very, very much for joining us today, for participating. Thank you for your questions. And if there's anything else I can help with and try with you, just let me know. You can always email me. You can always call me whenever you have a chance. I always welcome your feedback and suggestions. Oh, Yvonne, you love the Evernote web clipper. I'm running out of space. I clip so much, but I love it. I absolutely love it. Keep in mind, there is educational discounts that they provide, so you may need to contact them if you want to use it for your program. What we are using for with Evernote, we are actually trying using Evernote not only as a teacher, but with the students, where students have their notebooks and they can access content from there as well. They don't even have to be logged in. We just give them a link and they go to it, and they have resources in there. So we are using Evernote for that in a classroom. For me personally, one of my favorite tools to save content and information. And with Evernote, the mobile application, you can take pictures and save them to Evernote as well. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. Thank you so much again for participating. Hope you will do the survey for us. Let me know if there's anything else we can help with. We are not providing any more webinars this year. We are going to start again in January, but we're going to give you more information, what content, what information, and when. And so visit our website often. We're going to have a newsletter going out in January with more updates as well. So thank you so much for joining. I apologize for going a bit over the time, but I hope it was useful and beneficial to you. I'm going to stop the recording. Just give me 1 second. And if you have any more questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I can just leave the session for today.